So my name is Howard Jacobson. I am contributing author to a book called Proteinaholic, and I'm going to talk a little bit right now, until my arm gets tired from holding this phone, about the concept of how to change your diet, how to go from whatever you're eating now to the way you want to be eating. And typically I help people do this in terms of the context of transitioning to a plant-powered diet, a high whole food plant-based diet with limited or no animal products and limited or no refined foods. But you can apply the principles to pretty much anything, any kind of dietary change. Proteinaholic, let me show you a picture of the book. It's right here. It's coming out backwards in mine. I'm not sure if it's the backwards or forwards in the way you're seeing it. It was written by a bariatric surgeon named Dr. Garth Davis. And so I helped him write the book, and my main interest is helping people transition to a healthier lifestyle. Cool, thanks. So I want to talk just briefly about the concept of progress versus perfection when you make some kind of change. And I hear a lot of people talk about, the phrase progress, not perfection. And what they mean by that is don't try to do it all at once, and don't try to beat yourself up because you haven't switched entirely to your new form of diet. So, it's like, okay, today I'm eating hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza, getting coffee at Starbucks, putting all this crap in my body, and tomorrow I'm going to do clean living, I'm going to go raw vegan, or I'm just going to eat sprouts, or whatever it is. That's a recipe, of course, for failure and for degraded self-efficacy, meaning the failure itself makes it less likely that you're even going to try the next time. So obviously that kind of perfection is not what we're looking for. And I have two sort of role models that I listen to here, and they say very different things. One of them is my friend Lanny Muehlrath, who wrote a book called The Plant-Based Journey. I should know that because I wrote the preface for it. And in The Plant-Based Journey, she talks about micro changes. So let's say, for example, you want to start running in the morning. Instead of going out, buying the running shoes, getting all the gear, putting them by the door at 6 in the morning, and then saying, all right, every morning from now on for the rest of my life, I'm going to get up and run 5 miles as fast as I can. She says, why don't you make a micro change and maybe just buy the running shoes and put them by the front door. And don't even put them on. And then let's say after 2 weeks, they're sitting by the front door. Maybe you get up and you put one of them on. And then after another week, you put the second one on. And then maybe you lace them up. And then maybe you walk down to the end of your driveway. And then maybe you continue walking. It says if you do that, it's almost inexorable. The logical pull will move you towards your goal. And that's a great example of progress, not perfection. So obviously you wouldn't start going, get out the first day and run 3 marathons. But by doing it slow and taking incremental steps that build on one another, you can build confidence, you can build self-efficacy, you can build skills, you can build routines, and you can do it without abusing your body in the process. However, my other mentor here is Dr. Glenn Livingston, who just wrote a book that I adore called Never Binge Again. And he's a clinical psychologist, he's a marketer, and he's helped a lot of people overcome various types of eating that they don't want to be doing, whether it's too much or the wrong foods. And it's basically, when we want to eat a certain way and then we keep not eating that way, it's like we're not in integrity. Like I have these values and I'm not actioning them, as Asina O'Neill says. I'm not living the values. And so every time I eat a bowl of frosted flakes and I wish I hadn't, there's some disconnect and I have to figure out what's wrong with me. And that's a very disempowering type of question to be constantly asking myself. Why can't I do this? What's wrong with me? Why are my actions not in alignment with and in support of my values and goals? And what the good Dr. Glenn says is you want to go for perfection because progress is too hard. And what he means by that is if you're going to say, well, I want to eat less sugar, or I want to gradually cut down on my intake of saturated fat, or whatever your goal is. Progress is something that's really hard to measure, but perfection is very easy to measure. As in, I no longer eat bacon, right? It's a very clear demarcation line. It's not like, well, now I've gone from 4 ounces of bacon to 2 ounces of bacon, and maybe, well, one day, I'll only have one, and then for a week I won't have any, but then I go to a buffet and it smells really good, and I pile it on my plate. So it's a way of torturing ourselves to constantly be worried about where we are. If you have a GPS and on your phone or in your car, there's a little dot when it's activated that says, I am here, you are here. And we want to know where we are. And if we're trying to do progress in certain areas, it just gets in the way. And we just want to say, let's be perfect. Let's take out the wondering about how we're doing. Let's try not to figure out how long is it going to take us to get there, but let's simply cut it out. So I did that with Glenn's help. I was eating a lot of Cliff Bars, right? So the reason I had the Cliff Bars is that I had convinced myself against my better judgment that they were sort of okay. They were reasonably healthy, and once in a while they wouldn't be a problem. And if I was really hungry, I could grab one and it would get me through. Trouble was, we'd buy these 24 packs at Costco, and the other members of my family kind of also used Cliff Bars the same way, like as a once in a while pick-me-up. Trouble was, I was having like 5 a day, and I was trying to cut back, and I said, well, I only have one. But then, the little voice in my head says, well, but it's now 2 o'clock, and you're tired, and there's nothing else really in the house that you want to eat. You don't want to take time to go cook something because you've got work to do. Just go to the kitchen, grab a Cliff Bar, come back, finish what you're doing in the office. And there was no progress being made. It was just wearing me down. And instead, Glenn said, look, make a rule. What do you want the rule to be? So I don't want to eat these anymore. It'll be much easier if I regard the Cliff Bars as not food. And so I decided they are not food for me. They're pig slop. They can be other people's food. They can be other people's treats. This isn't a global value judgment. But for myself, it's not something I want to eat. And so I stopped. And it was really clear. There wasn't any second guessing. There wasn't any questioning. Am I doing the right thing? Am I following the rules? Am I not? Am I making progress? I went for perfection. Now, the key here is that you can have both progress and perfection by chunking down your big goal into a bunch of smaller goals in which you can then be perfect. Right? So I didn't change everything about my diet, my lifestyle, my habits. I just changed one thing. I eliminated Cliff Bars, but I did it to perfection, not in terms of little steps. And it may sound like a semantic difference to say, well, I'm doing perfection, but I'm actually just making progress towards my big goals. But the clarity that comes from drawing a line and having a rule and adhering to it, and the confidence that comes from that means that I can then tackle harder things. Honestly, Cliff Bars wasn't that hard. The harder thing that I'm working on is eating consciously, mindfully, slowly, so I'm not overeating and I'm not eating things that should give me pleasure but don't because I'm not even paying attention to them. But I can start to tackle that with a confidence that has come from the Cliff Bar thing. So that is all I have today for my blab. My left arm is now officially in spasm from holding this little iPhone, so I'll definitely get a holder for future ones. I want to thank all of you who tuned in. I don't know if there's any questions. I guess that's another feature. I'm going to switch to my right hand for a minute. What time is it? I have another 5 or 6 minutes where I have to go. If there's any questions from any folks who are on right now, that's a cool feature I'd love to explore. Otherwise, if I don't hear anything in the next 10 seconds, I will thank you so much for tuning in and say see you next time.